Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence. It keeps this channel ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Ink Dependence. I'm Mike, and this is Scribe Ink, premium fountain pen ink, 50 mils. You gotta go to scribetc.com to find information about this one. This is the Onyx Ink, and that's the only place where you're gonna find an indication of what ink is in this box. It actually doesn't say Onyx anywhere on here, but you have this nice black sticker on the top. Inside that box is this bottle, which again doesn't actually have the name of the ink on it. I kinda wish it did. Maybe the next round of these labels will have the name of the ink on it, but I think they just went one label for all the inks for now. But it does have this nice little black sticker on the top again. This is, as you can see, a very dark black ink, and it is picking up fingerprints on the bottle, but it's a very nice bottle, a little bit weighty, so it's going to cost a bit to ship, but, that's the price you pay sometimes. Inside here, you can see it has a little inner cap there, very dark black, nothing else to see. We'll put this aside. This is what the ink looks like. The only place I'm aware of that has this ink is Penrealm, that is Kirk Spears' website, and this is an ink that I picked up at the Atlanta Pen Show from his table, so thanks for selling me this ink. It goes for $24 in this 50 ml bottle, so it is not terribly inexpensive, but it is a very nice ink. So I have this ink in two pens. Firstly, I put in this one, which is a very nice Conway Stewart acrylic that was made into a pen by Stacy Robinson, who I also met at the Atlanta Pen Show. I feel like I met him years ago as well, but I don't remember. It's been a while since he's been at a pen show. And this is a really nice pen, and I couldn't wait to get an ink in it. Came with this broad nib, and I immediately inked it up with this Scribe ink because I also really wanted to try this ink. And it is, I think, too wet for this nib combination. So I've used this a fair amount, but it is a wet ink and a very wet broad nib, and that's kind of too much. So I later on put it in this pen. This is a Kaweco student pen, which I haven't used all that much, but it is a fine nib. So I'm like, let's try a fine nib with this ink and see how it works. And the answer is it works really well. I like it a lot in this fine nib. It is still extremely dark, but it is much more under control with this nib than it is with this very wet broad. So keep that in mind when using this ink. Also, it is a very dark black. Look at that. That is good. I haven't used a black ink in, I actually don't even know. It's been years, I think, since I've had a legit full-on black ink in a pen for review or just for my own use. You do occasionally see a little bit of sheen on this ink, but there it is, right there. But not a ton. You'll see it on some papers, like if you put on some Tomoe River and the things like that, you'll sometimes see it. But in general, you're going to get a very, very dark ink here. This is my usual Rhodia 80 grams per square meter paper. The flow of this ink, yeah, wet for sure. Performance, it kind of bleeds on the bad copy paper. It's not the best for bad copy papers. Here's that line right there. And you can see that it feathers a bit too. Even in the fine nib, you get a little bit of feathering. Here you get a little bit of feathering as well. So keep this on the good stuff and you'll be happier. There is the bleed through on the back side of this Staples 20-pound, 30% recycled paper. Of course, this is the worst example of paper, and pretty much everything else you're going to use is going to be better than this. So don't use this one. It's not great. Or don't use it on that paper. It's not great for that, but it is a really nice ink for a very dark black. So let's do a water test, look at the chromatography, and then look at some comparable black inks. I have pulled a few for us to look at. Some people think, oh, it's black ink, it's all the same. Nah, it's not really all the same. It's there's a lot of variation in black ink. A little shimmy. You can see a lot of the black ink moving. Let's see what this looks like when we take the ink off the top. Actually, there we go. Remember, blot your spills, don't rub them in. And yeah, I think the answer is this has some serious water resistance. It is still, it does move and it does make a mess. I did get a lot of black come off on this paper towel, but it's not that bad. All right. So Yeah, a little bit of water resistance, although it will make a bit of a mess. Here is the chromatography for that ink, and you can see this ink pretty well has just black in it. I do detect a couple of other colors now under the bright lights, and that is there's a streak of blue here, and then I'm not sure what this is. I don't know if this is some sheeny component or something in here, but this ink is it's pretty cool, and it's got more depth to it than I really thought it was. I thought it was just black, but as this dried, the blues and such popped out more. So really interesting Onyx there. Okay. So currently inked Inky Fingers notebook. This is this is my wheat straw paper that I use for keeping track of things. Here you go. Looks really nice on this paper. Behaves itself well, I think. Are those? I don't know. I kind of thought maybe there were little feathers there, but there's not. There aren't any anywhere else. So I'm not worried about that. Didn't bleed through the back or anything. And then here it is in the Kaweco Student. Right there. Still looks pretty good in the Student. Very nice dark black. If you're a person who prefers a black ink, I think this is a solid choice for you. Then my everyday book from Galen Leather. This is Tomoe River paper. This is my new ink journal because I ran out of Tomoe River in my other one. And here it is on Tomoe River. Now, you do see a little bit of shading here and there on here because the ink gets pulled along with the nib. I'm not getting a whole lot of sheen off of this, but there is a little bit of sheen here if you have the right light. Just a little bit. There you go. It's right there. Just a little bit. And then from the Student, that is up here. It feels really nice on the paper, by the way. It's a good feeling ink, and it's a really dark black. So if you're looking for a very dark black, I think this is a good one for you. Okay, let's look at some color comparisons. There's the Scribe Onyx right there. And actually on this Colodex card, it did come off a little bit less black than it does otherwise, which is kind of interesting, but you do also have the sheen. So that's an interesting little trade-off there. So you get some sheen on this one right here as well, which is pretty cool. I like a good sheen on a black ink. I think that's neat. All right, here is Tasha Kuro, which I think is a shinier black. It's definitely, I think it's as dark as that one, but it's also got a lot more shine to it, which is kind of interesting. I picked that up from Anderson Pens back in 2018. Then Kayonooto Nurabiro, which is not one that I have really... I used it once or twice, and it looks very cool, and it has a nice sheen to it. Also, that ink splatter came out really cool, but this ink is much drier, so if you want a wet ink, Onyx. If you want a dry ink with the same kind of qualities, Nurabiro. Then Twisby Black, which is surprisingly good. I was not sure what to expect out of Twisby Black, but I am pleasantly surprised by how dark that one is. Which I picked up from Van Ness in 2022. That's this year. I need to get that in a pen, actually. I haven't put it in a pen yet. Then we have Jacques Rebon. This is Noir Inspiration, or Inspiration. I don't know. And I got this from my friend in France, Anna. She sent this to me. This one is scented, as I say here, and it's way too fragrant for me to use. It's got a... Doesn't smell anymore, which is good because I've had it on here for like 2 years. But it is an extremely fragranced ink. It smells a lot like cologne, and it kind of gives me a little bit of a headache. Then one of the inks that I like best for super dark blacks is Aurora Black. Similarly wet to Scribe Onyx. So these two, if you like Aurora Black, you're probably also going to like Scribe Onyx. Although maybe Aurora Black is a little bit darker. It's hard to say. And then Colorverse Sunspot, which is a little bit on the drier side as well. It's not as dry as the Kayonooto ink, but it's a little bit on the dry side, and it does have a significant amount of bronzy sheen, which is, right there. Yeah, that's the ticket. So, really interesting ink there, Sunspot. And now, lastly, the thing about Parker Penman inks, or rather the Scribe inks, is that they are developed by the same person, Dr. Leighton Davies Smith, who developed the Penman range of inks for Parker back in the day. These inks are more or less unobtainable. You can get them at a fairly high premium online, sometimes on auction sites and that sort of thing. The black, I think, doesn't pull the premium that the Parker Penman Sapphire and some others do, but... it's certainly a little bit more expensive. I actually think Onyx looks better than the Ebony, at least in my sample. Of course, this ink is well old. I don't know, 20 years old, I guess, at this point. And I got this sample from George out in California when I was at one of the pen shows. Brought me a couple of samples of Penman colors. So I do happen to have ebony. So ebony and onyx. This onyx is meant to be reminiscent of ebony. So if you've been on the hunt for this one, you can get this one. It's much easier to come by. All right. So thanks very much for watching this little review. If you are looking for Scribe Ink, go and see Kirk at Penrealm. Tell him I said hi, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.